Hello.
Welcome to this new video. I am making two tier lists today. On the left side, a tier list for competitive, and the right side, a tier list for new players. And the new player list is mostly focused on Rainbow Ruins and below. I take like new players into consideration. We don't have everything unlocked, but also CC boost only a bit. But it's mostly Rainbow Ruins 3 power-ups and below. And I'm not doing this alone, I'm doing this with Agulio.
Hello.
Oh, it started with the first tower, Farm. S there for competitive.
That. Yeah.
I don't have to explain that
I
one.
don't think there's any growing farm has been very much dominant, and especially right now when Cobra is being nerfed, Village has been fixed a lot, so farm has a lot less competition than it ever has, and map pool keeps getting shorter and shorter to maps that people play more farms on, in competitive.
Yeah.
So yeah, it keeps its presence. It's actually in one of the strongest farm eras, I would say.
Yeah, important thing to note, eco is the least viable right now than it has been in a long time. There are no eco strategies in competitive that people use. Since Sabo got nerfed, those scans and triple star strategies got completely out of the matter. But yeah, now for the noob list, and I'm gonna put farm in B.
I very much agree here.
The problem
Maybe
with farm,
A, but yeah.
you need farmers, especially newer players who don't have the micro to collect bananas and play Star Wars and other stuff, need farmers. They don't have the medallions for farmers. Also, I think farm is way more difficult to use than a basic eco strategy. I think eco is gonna be way stronger in lower levels, and same for Cobra. Farm is just not as dominant because you need to properly farm, which is a difficult thing to do.
Farm is only good if you can use it efficiently, and the farm adds complexity that a new player probably will not be able to accomplish, especially with their micro level. If anyone ever switched device while being good at one device, they realize that trying to farm while trying to get used to micro on a new device, it's very hard, and that's very much important on new players. And the complexity added, and also the fact that you have one less tower to defend, so you don't have like these dream themes that you can have with 3 towers. It makes it a lot harder.
Yeah, fair enough. So what tower do you want to do?
Did we precise which tiers are supposed to mean?
No, I think it's pretty obvious. What the tiers mean.
Tier matters more.
Yeah.
All right. My pick is gonna be Dart Monkey.
And
I'm gonna put Dart Monkey in A tier for competitive. Maybe would it be S tier? Like it's a dominant tower in frame. Like it's played on every sort of map.
It could be S tier. Like this is definitely high A tier, but I don't think it's
high A tier. But like S tier, like Farm deserve its own like tier. Like
Farm is definitely above of Dart Monkey.
Yeah, like. So Dart Monkey is like right below, but it's still a tier below Farm.
Yeah, like I think in competitive maps, Dart Monkey is close to S tier.
Mm-hmm.
But the second you go slightly outside of that small range of maps, it's like either shorter or slightly longer. It quickly falls off, and it's about the current competitiveness list where the map pool is relatively small. But I do a little bit have to keep the other maps in the back of my mind that could be part of competitive, like Dread Balloon Cave. I don't think it's that good in Dread, even though Dread could make a return anytime. It's always been a fan favorite.
It's also like horrible on those like maps that Sniper dominates on, the water maps, stuff like that. Dart Monkey really gets to struggle there.
Yeah.
Also doesn't like two-way maps as much. Depends on the two-way map, of course, but
it really depends.
Mm-hmm.
But where do you want to put it? The noob list.
For the noob list, I also want it in A tier. It's the first tower you unlock. when you on like triple dart spamming is still kind of efficient in some ways, especially like lower levels.
Yeah.
Um, well, most new players don't know about the jug strat. Like generally, people that get into the game, they get to watch videos a bit. They will know that like a jug on last is very good, stuff like that. The fan club is like, this is the cheapest tower to unlock. Like by all means, it's like the first
Yeah.
one you unlock too, and it's also good for learning the fundamentals. Um, I think it's just like generally like a good cheap option to have first, and then you can like complement the dart with other things. But it's not dominant for new players.
Yeah, I
In
agree.
SAD.
I think that, like, if you just download the game first day, it's detail. But once you
Yeah.
learn that you can target a tower, it's good. Like trip darts,
Yes.
you need to learn how to spend space balloons with trip dart. When you can do, and that's both and jokes long on last. Once
Mhm.
you learn that, that is amazing. You got a
I.
fan club to defend mob class and BFBs. That's the
Mhm.
thing new players struggle against a lot. And here with a single ability, you can basically clear your entire screen, at least up to 122. Like single
Yes.
ability,
And
clear screen.
I also believe like this is like less about how viable it is, but I do believe it needs bonus points for. I've always said it, and I'll keep saying it. The best strategies for new players to learn the game, to me, is Dart from Wizard, because it's the strategy that will teach you the fundamentals that will allow you to go into new strategies and learn those new strategies. It's like the fastest way to like learn and like get a feel of how the game at competitive level happens.
Yeah, I agree, but how the game feels so competitive is very different from how low arena players play it. But I'm gonna go to
Yes.
the next style, which is Wizard. To
Yeah,
pick the
that's
correct
very
part.
on the
Yeah,
screen.
yeah. I'm gonna put it in B. It just got a nerf. I think Wizard is still a viable tower, but I've not seen it that being used that often anymore in competitive. Tailstick
Yeah.
has potential, and you can't never ride off with Phil and with Ace. But Dart Super and Heli Ice have just been significantly more dominant.
Mhm. I think Wizard really suffers from the issue of sides mattering a lot on each map, which makes learning Wizard so much more complicated than learning any other tower, especially at competitive level. Um, and if you want to like go around the lightning limits, which would require you to use viable strats, which are also viable, but are way more complicated to pull off. And require a lot of mastery over it. And most of the time, it's just better to like learn another strategy than a wizard. Even though wizard has a lot of potential, learning another strategy is much simpler and can go to the mastery levels of the strategy much quicker than wizard would allow you to.
Yeah, quits. And for the noob list, gonna put it in B. Like, Wizard might be difficult to use in the competitive level, but for a new player, placing down a Wizard is amazing. It's
Mm-hmm.
good starting with. I mean, even when you only have the second tier towers unlocked, Wizard is already good. Just spam a couple of lightnings and you got everything covered.
Mm-hmm.
It also pops LEDs, it pops camos. It's an extremely cheap tower to pop camo LEDs, which new players, especially the ones who don't have all towers to lock, struggle a lot against. I have seen people just die to camo LEDs because they weren't able to pop them. And it's just a solid tower to have as support. Just a single wizard. If you put a single wizard down, you got most things covered, and you can just don't have to worry
Mm-hmm.
about camos and stuff.
Yeah, I very much agree with all those sentiments, but I also see the reason why you put it in B, even though you just complimented it a lot. Some people would think that for noobs that would be S tier. The issue with that is that Wizard has a lot of fundamental issues when used that way, especially like the lightning spam and stuff, especially for a new player. It makes you weak to region rushes a lot, which new players will struggle a lot from a base. So Wizard like it covers everything, but it has like very key weaknesses that are like very hard to compensate for, especially when you're a new player. So like the region weaknesses, especially like region rainbows, mobs don't get popped at all
Yeah,
by
I
lightning
think
and
Wizard
such like
really
there.
starts to fire up at lower levels once you reach around 18, 120.
Hmm.
Like those type of BFBs, MOBs, CMG stats are really difficult to defend with Wizard as a beginner.
I I also think that it deserves this B tier because it suffers from consistency issues. Like I said, with how lightning, how lightning works, it will make it less consistent depending on the map or even the side of the map. So for a new player, this can get very consistent, very confusing on how much defense they actually need, right? Because they'll go from like playing the same map on one side and be completely fine with three lightnings, but they go on the other side and suddenly three lightnings is not even close to enough to defend a region Rainbow Rush. Or not region Rainbow Rush, just a zebra rush. Like you're gonna start leaking yellows out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like very confusing to learn.
Yeah, it really is. So next tower.
I will pick. Let's go with Let's get rid of it. Chipper.
Ha.
So I want Chipper. What was it again? We said. Okay. Nice. Yeah. I think was it D tier we agreed on. D tier would be. It's not okay. C tier would be niche tier. D tier would be it's bad, but it has like one or two cases that are extremely niche and very specific where it can be used.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it would be go D tier in this for competitive because it has a single synergy that can work with, and that would be Submarine. Submarine sub has a very strong late game. The early game is still fine, although it gets a bit drained by the BFBs and stuff. It also has those. It's kind of meta on like those non-competitive maps, water non-competitive maps where sniper dominates a lot. Sub sniper chipper is surprisingly better than sub sniper ice or sub anything, because of the perma stall of chipper and the combination with the CMG popping of sniper and sub. So that's like where Chipper stands. It's like it only works for this specific use, and everything else is it's not worth it. Everything's better than it.
Like with Chipper works, but with Ice is better, and with Village is better, and with Ace is better. Like all the things Chipper works, but you always have a couple better combination, except with with Sub. Sub chip is one of the most powerful synergies imaginable. But
it's only like held back by the fact that Chipper is bad.
Yeah,
and that sub has to carry a lot. For this
like it's really specific, but it is not terrible. And I would put it for the noob list.
For the noobs, so it would be very very bad. There's no reason to use it, but I'm gonna put it below that. I'm gonna put it in F tier.
Yeah, can't really argue against
because
that.
E tier, okay, well E tier is like it's very bad. There's never a reason to use it, right? It doesn't necessarily mean like you never have a reason to use it, but let's say a competitive player can still like get things out of it, right? There's still uses for it, you know.
Yeah.
You're still gonna get like Tack shooter. You're still gonna be able to mushroom. You're still gonna get a good early game. There's still like some values. It's just always not class, so it's not viable. I think Chipper is just horrible for new players. They'll always use it wrong, and the only ability that could be useful for a new player, which would be the super vac, right?
Yeah.
Without like hurting yourself. That's like very expensive, and a new player will probably never like get into scenario for super vac in the first place, and it's just not worth it. And a lot of times, like the chipper will actually hurt the new player, right? Especially with regions and stuff. They'll use it on first because they don't know targeting, or they'll try to use it to pop mobs, but because they use such an expensive upgrade to pop the mobs, right? With the big shredder, they won't actually have defense for the inside, so they get punished for using Chipper because they don't know the negative effects that comes with using Chipper. So it's literally negative to use it. It's worse than bad.
Chipper is not only a bad tower, it's also just difficult to use, and you need to use specific combinations to make it somewhat make good use of it. New players are not gonna understand those combinations, not gonna understand how to use it, and even if you do understand all of that, it's still bad. So, definitely F.
Definitely F tier.
Okay.
I think
I'm gonna pick Heli, and I'm gonna put it in B tier, but behind Wizard.
Is that because the synergies that it has right now are strong, or because Heli individually is good?
This is definitely because of its synergies, and I'm gonna put it's gonna get very obvious that it's just the synergies. We're not gonna place it in the noob list, but explain it a bit now. Heli Ice, amazing strategy. Heli glue. On some maps, good. Heli Engi, not quite NFV, but like it works. But those are combinations that are difficult to use. You need to get out of your way to make Heli work. Heli by itself doesn't work. You need to get out of your way to make it work. That's why I can push it higher. But when you get out your way to make it work, like with Heli Ice, Heli needs a lot of grouped support damage in the mid game, then it's amazing. But you need to get out of your way. So that's also explained why it's gonna be terrible on a noob level, so I'm gonna put it in E tier.
Absolutely. I think the reason, like you said, Heli is B tier in competitive because while Heli on its own is bad, like it would be like CD tier, right? It has the potential for synergies. And because of that potential for synergies that synergize with everything super well, right? Because you can always control it. It has the camo, it has the downdraft for like pulling back Bloons. You can always like find a way to make Heli support the support tower in a way. It's like a weird combination of Heli working together. But you need to like micro it, you need to understand how it works, you need to understand the synergy.
Yeah, you need to make downdraft work as well, which is full support. Like downdraft is such an important upgrade on the Heli, and understanding how and when to use it is difficult.
But then we get to the new tier list where like synergies and stuff and making a tower for another tower gets more complicated, and you only end up with the bad sides of helicopter, right?
No group, bad group damage, expensive, and don't forget the noob trap pursuit. I've seen people get out of the way. I've seen people screen share in a clan server or a YouTuber server who played like Semi-Crucible, Rainbow Wounds, and they placed down a Heli and got out of the way to buy pursuit and put a tower on an Heli on pursuit. It's an enormous noob trap. Don't ever put your Heli on pursuit. It is not good.
It's not the BTD6 pursuit. And it's not a solo game. You're in competitive, and people will abuse pursuit. Even if they don't know what they're doing, they will abuse pursuit because pursuit is just horrible. It's just horrible. It just doesn't know what it's doing. You're literally gonna miss shots with it. It's that bad. Is my turn to pick a tower? Yes. Okay, you picked Heli. I will pick. Let's talk about. Let's talk about Tack Shooter.
Okay.
So, as we know now, Tack Shooter has had some very interesting, very hyped uses in competitive. But in the current meta game, it's sadly E tier. It's bad. It's always outclassed by other strategies. There's no reason to use Tack Shooter. You can use it if, like I said, it's not F tier because a good player can still use Tack Shooter and get something out of it because it still has points and still has a strategy and stuff. But it's just bad. It doesn't. It's always outlast. It's never the meta. Like I said, Chipper is has very niche meta strategies where it's actually the best strategy on the map. Tack Shooter never has that. It's just always the worst. It doesn't have its place in the meta, and like you have to get really good at being aggro and stuff to like make Tack work. But then at that point, go Engi, go any other like aggro strategy like Wish or even is better in some cases. Tack Shooter is like really down, and also like the eco strategies got nerfed overall, with the past village nerfs and all that stuff. Tack has been suffering a lot, but not necessarily because Tack received nerf. Tack received buff, but Tack synergies have been nerfed. Mortar got nerfed multiple times in a row because of both Mortar. Wizard got nerfed just recently, and now like the biggest issue with Tack Wizard was the camo, and now that's also gone. Village, like I said, got rid of. Stuff like that. Like Tack Shooter, because of the environment of the current meta game, suffered so much that it ended up being the worst competitive tower.
Like all tech combinations with farm got nerfed, except Spike Factory, but that was sorry Judge, but that was never good to begin with. It was a fun strat. It's not nowhere near the meta. Yeah. And tech with farm is always a drain strat. In the current meta, drain strat don't work. People are so good at the game that they always manage to not get drained. And out of the three main drain strats, you have Engi, which is the best one. Then you have Cobra, which people say it needs a buff. And yet Tack is still worse than Cobra as a drain strat.
Because Tack Shooter drains itself while trying to drain. and then it still doesn't have the legging to compensate for it.
Like when you go Tack farm, you don't even have a stall.
Nope. You just suffer.
So
Basically, you have to play really
list.
good. And that's where it goes to A tier, maybe even S tier. But because of map restrictions, I'd say just A tier.
Okay.
The reason it's so high for noobs is that it is absurdly simple to use. It gets a lot of value, especially early game and mid game, right? And everyone understand that you need camo with it, right? It's not like that hard to understand. And then you can go mortar, which is very simple to use. Also, village is also very simple. Camo, like Tack village, like I said, competitive is not usable. But for noobs, like getting Tack village, like getting a camo, it's like very simple, very effective strategy. It always has the backup of Maelstrom, especially if you have a camo detection that comes with it. And most of the time, noobs when they don't even allow with camos or anything. So Maelstrom without even another camo detection is just it just works. It's just an always reliable backup. It's very simple. It does its job very well at the early game, and you never really get to that late game where it starts mattering too much. That Tack shooter is very bad.
Yeah,
so Tack shooter is very strong here. It's like it allows the new player to place a tower, know it's gonna do his job, and then focus on other areas of the game. Right? It allows the brain to okay, how do I eco? How do I rush? How do I farm if they want farm? It allows the player to think of other stuff because the texture is going to do his job. It's just going to sit there. There's no targeting card or anything. It's very easy to use.
Agreed. Like Tack's biggest weakness is late game, and games don't tend to go late in lower arenas. It's more about the early and mid game. Most games end with 113 or with the BFB and stuff, and Tack can defend that. The reason why this Tack is not S tier is because if you want to properly utilize Tack, you need to have good micro. And noobs don't have good micro. Like one maelstrom against the BFB, that works. You have the maelstrom 3 or 4 times to defend the rush, not being able to do that. So
the other reason it's not S tier is that there are some maps where you just can't use Tack because of the way the maps are laid out. There's a lot of maps where you just can't use it because there's no spots for it to be effective.
So against BFBs and ZMGs, Tack might not be your best option. Like it's good, but it does still fall off.
It still falls off. Yes.
Okay. My next tower is the Engineer.